could be a very good counterplay to the prize fighter if you're not letting them get those stacks. They're basically down in Awakening, and you have a very strong performance pickup here. So it's really just, I think every single set is going to be dependent on whether or not freaking esports finds these early kills and is able to snowball them. Because I think in a baseline, playing into now Kazan, playing into Finny goalie on Demon Days, I think Chikara Eclipse will have a much easier time working with this. And I mean, it's looking to me like they're finding this damage pressure. Very, very convincing. 2 barriers into goal here with the Luna nuke. Popping it off here.
Yeah, freaking esports. They're putting the damage down. And it's interesting, right? If you're going to pick Finny on Demon Days, you would expect that team to lean in a little bit more of the damage. Maybe they'll try to negate some of these prize fighter stacks, but right now Zonseki is the target here and already staggered. Freaking esports is looking pretty comfortable, and it's getting easy to understand why this is their map pick.
Yeah, very well played. Zentara primary into Estelle primary there. Good combo for the team for a kill confirm there. Using their abilities and the coordination to get those kills is exactly what you need for prize fighter because it gives you assist stacks. Now both of them got a stack instead of just one off of that kill confirm. And Sarah with a great angle off that flip, almost even killing Kragly off it too. And the damage is really showing itself in this early set here. It's already 3 prize fighter stacks for Sarah, and they're going to find a goal here off of freaking Chris. They're going to get one more kill for the count too. This set is looking so far in favor of them already.
Yeah, not just getting the goal, but keeping 2 flips and getting those extra prize fighter stacks like you mentioned. This last point looks like a formality if they can just execute like they've been doing, and it's not going to be easy, especially when Kragly just gets one-shot by Andy and Chris. Has to burn the lifeline, but 0 evades on the entirety of Chikara Eclipse right now.
Cero already has those 4 prize fighter stacks to work with. The way it's playing out, he has 172 power. So these kill confirms will be very strong. A good Luna missile, however, Andy will fall. That's no prize fighter for him, and they can find some barriers here. But frickin' Chris is holding it down pretty convincingly with the Stell abilities here. Sunseki is low, but it's hard to deal with him because of now, and because you need to commit yourself to this defense too.
They do lose both barriers here. Cero in a dangerous spot health-wise as well. The question is, can they find this last one? And a great angle by Cero around absolutely everybody. Still surviving is Cero, still getting the Strike War wins. A crazy indicator on the Slice and Dice, but not going to find anything so far. And Cero still surviving in the midst of it all. Andy now has free reign on the top side. Goes for the Ego Strike War. Scandals will say no to that, but this pressure is just keeping up in favor of frickin' esports. And it's also a range difference too, right? You can't really get jump scared by that kind of range if you're freaking esports against Chikara Eclipse, and they'll convert very comfortably for the first set.
Prize Fighter showed itself 172 power and a red core in overtime from Cero there. And one thing they're looking for right now, Zentaro is impossible to deny. Explosive Entrance, Super Surge, 1-2 punch. Even a Spark of Focus for someone like Estelle is strong because it gives Zentaro all of the options in the world to choose from. They're getting 2 damage awakenings here, and it's up to Sarah to pick that 1-2 punch. Yep, to pick the Explosive Entrance and freaking Chris on 1-2 punch. This is a very, very good draft, especially because Finny doesn't have anything insane like a Monumentalist that's worth denying here. So the specialized training too for Andy. This is an insane draft for freaking esports already. A Spark from now lends its way to maybe scaling further in the game, but really the only massive pickup in this draft is Zonseki's Might of the Colossus. But even that makes his hitbox larger. So Freaking Esports is looking very set to take this entire game off of this unless something very significant happens in the momentum here.
Freaking Chris taking a lot of damage here. The Kazan can kill confirm, stealing away the orb right now. But Kragly also incredibly low on the now. And these big finishes have not really been a factor so far this game. A KO starts the snowball for freaking esports. Freaking Chris healing back up as well. And the prize fighter is just completely unchallenged, it feels like.
Yeah, freaking Chris barely surviving Zonseki's kill confirm there on Kazan, forcing out 2 evades as Andy's specialized training Luna nuke. And getting those evades out is exactly what you want when you're playing with this kind of team comp, trying to damage them like this. And having this pressure even outside of that with a Luna dash, a Zentaro ult, that's a kill on 2 Scandals, and that's another prize fighter stack for all 3 of them.
They are stacking so incredibly well very early on in the first point. And kind of that kill might turn everything here if they can convert into a goal here. And they do find 1 barrier, looking for 2, but Andy will win the Strike War. Those kinds of kills can change the momentum completely, but it looks like freaking esports are recovering quite decently. They only lose one barrier. They put a lot of damage onto Cragley, and they convert on the other end. 2 barriers down.
Yeah, Cragley, no now ult, no evade barely. Yeah, now has that evade now, but in the situation, Cragley is so pressured and already staggered because they realize how vulnerable Cragley is, and you can't evade when you're being Zentaro ulted like that. It's already the prize fighter stack restored for Sero. 2 flips to work with on this defense, but we're already forced to use 1, and the second it goes down promptly. The way this is looking, they might even be able to close out this power play after 2 flips, but it's going to have to rely on the specialized training here. The Luna Nuke comes out, Scandals is low, but he has the orb to recover with.
Oh, what a combination by Andy and freaking Chris on the top side. Completely targeting Scandals and making sure there's no way out of that one. They cash out. They get more prize fighter on the board, and it's looking difficult for Chikara Eclipse.
Yeah, I think especially notable is that they're finding a kill every time they get a point. They're killing the goalie alongside putting the ball in the net. And the way it's working, they're getting such a good position for skilling throughout the set. However, both barriers are down. If there's any time to turn this momentum, it's right now.
If they need to find a scoring play, Zonseki has the tools, but not quite enough reach there, and it's taking chip damage while it's happening. You got to be careful if you're Cragley as well. The lifeline out, and Sero gets in there looking for 2 barriers. The hit stun onto Cragley. 2 barriers already gone in an instant. It felt like a lead for Chikara Eclipse, but all of that has vanished at this point, and now Sero in position to receive a pass from freaking Chris. The dribble to stall it out. A back pass will slow down the play. A little bit awkward there as Zonseki picks it up. Sero KO'd, and maybe a chance as Andy flies in. Doesn't get the angle around Scandals, but will stall it out. But Scandals with the snipe will secure at least 1 point for Chikara Eclipse and get them back into the game just a tiny bit.
There's the missile prop pickup showing its value there. Finny card wouldn't have reached otherwise, especially without that strike shot. Momentum Boots opted for Finny instead. And, I mean, it's already shown its value. It's already gotten its value with just 1 goal. That's all you need for an Awakening to really be too worth it. So, the way it's playing out now, they have this value out. Now is getting the barriers, and they were able to turn that last point. If freaking esports don't find some good momentum here off of a specialized Luna Nuke on an evadeless Scandals, for instance, then this point might actually fall out of their favor as well.
Yeah, but the reason why Scandals is evadeless is because that same Luna Nuke did force out that flip earlier. And we'll see if they can get some more pressure down. This time, Sero the one in a lot of trouble as Zonseki puts on the pressure. They carried away into the Madden Descent, puts so much damage on Sero, and the evades come out as well. Evadeless is Scandals, but no more abilities left to really target the goalie of Chikara Eclipse. And with another barrier falling, it seems like maybe Eclipse have found their way back.
That's right, the momentum, the pressure, the damage pressure in particular, is kind of hard to keep up in this situation. Frickin' esports aren't really finding any significant and consistent damage here, though Cragley is Estelle Blink, Rose Warp, and then there's a kill confirmed from Sero with the passive. Effective, and that is a second prize fighter stack on Sero, and a 4th for frickin' Chris, by the way. That power is showing itself with the core speed off that primary, and another kill comes in. That's exactly what frickin' esports needs. Sero doesn't quite take the shot, even though he could have scored off of it, looking out for a Finny cooldown, but it doesn't even matter as Sero and frickin' Chris are in a 2v1 scenario. They're not quite finding it. If they don't score now, things might get a bit dangerous here, but there's Sero with the dash coming in. Alright, beating out Cragley, covering his options. Alright, frickin' esports, I guess they just want more prize fighter stacks, ending the set at 4, 3, and 4, going into this next one very, very dominantly. And I'm seeing 2 very important awakenings here, that is Stinger and Deadeye. You don't want frickin' esports having both of them.
Yeah, one's definitely going to be taken away here. Deadeye being hovered and removed. Luna not the best applier of Stinger, though, and will choose to go to Stacks and Stacks instead. And Stinger will be picked up by Cragley. I do think Stinger was the right choice for Luna, though. They had a little bit of damage problems in the middle of that last set, right?
I think so too, especially with the very strong kill confirm of Estelle and Zentaro. Having that Stinger, I think Luna's good at it, honestly, with that missile cooldown. And the fact that you're able to use it on just hitting people as goalie. I think it would have been a very strong pickup, honestly, for doing that damage pressure. And really, the Stacks and Stacks pick is not even a deny, because what are they going to do if you have more damage? They're not going to stack it up, that's for sure. It gives them a lose con if they pick it, so it's not even like, I don't know. It's a unique draft, I think it's interesting, but I would personally have gone for the Stinger here. Though honestly, the way frickin' esports is having this momentum, they might not have to care too much.
Yeah, Andy getting in there, not going to get the barrier just yet, and the momentum feels like it has stalled out just a little bit. Zantseki, the one putting on the pressure. Andy is also pretty killable, don't forget, if you eat one too many Kazan abilities. Andy now one hit away here. Zantseki faking it out with the strike, actually, and getting back there, forced to burn another evade, but there's another KO coming through, and Andy will survive for long enough. The team of frickin' esports will do enough damage and look for the goal here. Not quite getting it just yet, but a lot of passes to be had, and we'll just send it right through Scandals on that evade timing.
Very well played from Andy, I'd like to point out, surviving the kill confirm from Kazan there, who had eventually a few abilities to work with. Andy was able to dash away with that eject, spend as much time on that offense, still not getting hit by like a now or Fini, and then evade before ejecting back to beat out that camping on the eject button. Very well played from him, keeping himself alive, and because he was alive, they were able to score that last point.
Big flip from Chris. Zero low, but manages to pick up an orb at the perfect timing. And now Kragley in a lot of trouble. A perfectly timed lifeline to not get hit by the whammy from Andy. Zantseki now putting on the offense, built up a lot of meter as well, but Kragley sent all the way across the map. Zero, though, in a lot of trouble as well, but Zantseki barely doesn't get the KO confirmed there, and Zero just going to run away. That's devastating for Chikara Eclipse. They had a chance, but now they can't even get a 1 KO.
That's right, Zantseki is barely not getting all of these kills. The flip is wasted too. Sero barely hanging on, and Andy's able to find a flip here. Nothing insane will come off of it, but frickin' Chris is positioned to score. Sero will lose the ball here, and the second barrier might fall as a result. So they barely get out of the gravity well, and everyone on the side of frickin' esports is looking worse for wear. But we've seen them all survive despite Kazan before. It might happen again.
Zero, importantly, is looking healthy enough. Andy dashing forward, looking for a follow-up off the Oni's blade. A passing play to empty space. Frickin' Chris all the way back. Scandals will defend for now. And a KO finally found by Zantseki to bring a power play to the side of Chikara Eclipse here. Zero, though, relentless on the offense. Kragley looking, but they can't get too much value. They find a barrier finally. The respawn's going to come in 1 more second. Andy's winning Strike War after Strike War, and frickin' Chris has returned. Another Strike War win for Andy as Chris just advances the core forwards. Kragley, though, in a great spot now as Zantseki looks for a drive-by and gets the lingering strike just in time to tie up this set.
Yeah, the Kazan strike covering the outclear almost like an Estelle primary would with that length and duration. Very well played from Chikara Eclipse. Honestly, they looked like the damage team at that point. Frickin' Resports was super low all the time. They were able to take out some of those prize fighter stacks too. However, one thing to point out is Andy has that stacks and stacks fully stacked up now. 2 prize fighter stacks as well. It's very valuable to kill him, but it's not reasonable. It's hard to get that damage off on him.
And the state of damage in this point so far is firmly in the favor of freaking esports there. Zantseki being launched, but Kragley regenning just barely enough to get 1 barrier on the other side of it. And the regens come through for the side of Chikara Eclipse. So they have enough stagger and they have enough HP to just get out of there. Now Sarah's the one in a little bit of trouble.
It's worth considering Zantseki does have that Vam Braces pickup, so because of that, he's actually kind of hard to kill when he has the ball. So really he can only die when the ball is off of him. And it's been happening, but it's really been happening a lot less frequently this time because he has that possession to work with. Frickin' esports are having a bit of a harder time confirming these kills. They're getting the staggers, but they're not getting the confirms. It's possible Sarah may have to start holding his ult for these scenarios.
Might need to start targeting Scandals maybe, but now Kragley in a little bit of a scary spot. No evades left. Andy with the flip. Might be burned soon. The rocket good. Burns the flip just in case. A shot to the top corner. Scandals is there to catch it. And Andy sends it around the world. Zero in position, but freaking Chris, what a predict. Coverage on the bottom side with the piercing shot. And that's an important point to win. It was looking scary for them.
Great snipe with the core speed. 146 power in overtime. That will make it go so fast that Scandals is not able to use even an ability to save that core there. Very well played from frickin' Chris. He's been looking very good all game, honestly.
Yeah, and Kragley always brought low. I think frickin' esports recognizing that the now, if left unchecked, can be a huge problem in the midfield. Forced to burn the lifeline as well. Sero looking healthy, and every single ability by Kragley burned now to try and escape. The Sero, with the flip available, is such a threat on the other side, but also taking a ton of burst damage. Needs to be careful here.
Yeah, frickin' Chris opting to keep behind the barrier there. He is low, but he's not really killable because of he's just so fast, and they can't get to him without committing themselves so hard, and if they do, it leaves Sero for a perfect 1v1 scenario. Frickin' Chris blinking in and finding the first barrier. That's going to be their offense for now, but they're not looking too scared right now because of that triple defense they're playing. However, Zantseki will find a close strike to get that second barrier.
Scandals with the flip advancing now could be the threat that gets them a goal here, but Andy's clearing very well into the corner, helped out by Chris a little bit. The flip early, but Chris doesn't react in time, and Scandals will steal away a point. It's 2-2 now, and maybe Chikara Eclipse can scale their way back into this game.
It is worth noting that Luna most likely has Nuke right now, as well as Scandals not having that flip. At any moment, Andy can let that fly and change the game very significantly. However, he's opting to play his defense, aiming for Zanseki instead, killing just off of raw knockback with that specialized training. This is exactly what they need. It's a prize fighter stack, it's a power play, and they can convert this into a second barrier. That's all they really need off this power play to work.
Good strike by freaking Chris to get it through. Cragley taking a ton of damage as well, and Cero goes in. Cero finds the game for freaking esports.
Converting that power play into a little more than just a second barrier as Cero builds that flip using his ult to catch up to the core and putting it in the net finally with a shot straight at Scandals, who did not have any abilities or his strike.
Well played, and they played that map, they played the start very, very well, right? Well adapted to the prize fighter on Demon Deus. They got the game plan down, and there weren't really too many hiccups for freaking esports in taking that first game.
That's right, and if there's one thing I want to see from them in the rest of the series, it is this damage being continued. They looked very strong playing this damage, and I'd like to see them not just only opt to play it because it was Demon Deus, but also because it's just something that they're good at. If they keep going with this pick, this kind of flavor of team comp, I think in the next map, in the next two maps, they'll be in a very good spot, no matter what it is. Even Oni Village, you don't have to commit to it, but you can play characters that can deal damage. The way they're playing it is convincing enough for me to say that I think this is one of their most important things.
Yeah, we'll see if they can continue that. And taking a look at the stats too, right? It just really made sense how they were playing. They were shutting down Zanseki's access to the core. Cragley was the one who was supposed to feed it to Zanseki, but when Cragley's taken out of commission more often than not, then it's kind of hard.
Yeah, and that's really it. If you have the Vambraces as Kazan, you have that healing, but only when you are in possession of the core. And if freaking esports is playing to keep you off the ball like that, if they're playing to keep you stunned and they're hitting the core away the moment it gets to you, you're not going to get that value. You're not going to get the healing. You only spend your own cooldowns on the healing, and that's not enough to keep you alive against a backline like Luna Estelle, right? So the Vambraces pick, even with a Stagger Awakening on the start, was good at keeping him alive, but it wasn't good at keeping him alive and well, right? So because of that, freaking esports were able to pretty much snowball the entire game in their favor.
Absolutely. And heading on to game 2, let's take a look at what map we have here. It is Night Market. And Chikara Eclipse, I think that makes a lot more sense for them. They seem like a team that plays very core control-y. I think they're most comfortable when they have that kind of speed midfielder, whether it be the Now, whether it be the Era, along with a traditional brawler for Zanseki. Has succeeded a lot on the X and on the Kazan. And we'll see if they can pilot that on that map.
That's right, but I will say, seeing what frickin' esports have just pulled out, I would not want to lock in a composition like Era X, like Now X. I think that would get rolled pretty hard by even this exact comp of Luna, Estelle, and Taro. I think that kind of role comp struggles very hard to damage right now, and if frickin' esports are reacting to a pick like that in draft, they might be able to punish Eclipse very hard for it.
Right, and we'll see. Freaking esports are blue side after all, so they have a lot of agency on forcing out a big ban from Chikara Eclipse, and maybe even banning away the Luna that the Andy is so comfortable on. And importantly as well, he is playing from an internet cafe and has half the ping of his normal setup to Dallas.
Oh. Okay, well, Andy has been looking very good. That might be one of the reasons, but honestly, it could just be the comfort, too. His signature Luna pick coming out, and he looks very unstoppable on it, too. We'll see if it gets target banned from him, because I wouldn't actually be very surprised. I don't know what Andy's secondaries are for the same kind of damage threat. Maybe he has a Vice? I think he does, actually. I think a Vice on Andy would be very strong, but we'll see if Eclipse opts to get him off of that pick, because it did look very potent.
Yep, we'll see what happens. And now the character draft will reveal the awakenings. If it is very KO oriented, then I am extremely scared. And it is a Fight or Flight Hotshot start, so a very, very different game that we're looking at here.
That's right, and Hotshot is Very strong CDR awakening, and it could be exactly what a team like FRCK Esports wants with that Juno pick, by the way. FRCK Chris's signature character. If they can get that, it might be target banned because I believe it was last game. Um, they can force out a ban like that with the hotshot, and they can opt for either a fight or flight comp or a hotshot comp, depending on what characters they want to play. Really, there's a lot of options here, and damage is not crossed out because it synergizes well with CDR, which hotshot is one of the few CDR awakenings left.
Yeah, I'm really, really interested to see what Chikara Clips will ban. I think that's going to indicate a lot of how they view this game and being a game down as the higher seed. You do have to get nervous. You do not want to go to losers bracket in the playoffs tournament of any of the leagues, really. Many higher seeds have drowned in the losers quarters before, so not a comfortable place to be, and we'll see a lot of that in this first ban here.
That's right. I think I'm expecting it to be Juno because of frickin' Chris, but honestly, I think if I were drafting this team, I would bend to Luna because Hotshot Luna's really good, right? And Danny was looking good on the Luna pick too. So if he gets that like B1 Luna, or maybe even later in the draft, the Juno is banned away. We'll see if he opts for the Luna, which it's a very strong pick. Though it's also possible if he doesn't pick it immediately, it might not get denied later, right?
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility as well. And that kind of calls out for Chikara Eclipse, right? Are you going to dare to pick the Luna away, or will frickin' esports be rewarded with that saving for the end of the draft kind of strategy, picking up this Rasmus instead that Sero is very comfortable on? Although it doesn't play into like the hard damage win condition as much, so we'll see. But does have a slightly easier time kill confirming, I think.
Yeah, I think especially if you're dedicating yourself to it, Rasmus Hook into anything he wants is a very strong kill confirm tool. But it looks like they're not opting to play full damage. However, I think it might naturally happen, especially if they do lock in this Hotshot Luna, right? Though it'll depend. It's open now, and he has a chance to pick it. But they did pick a Trucker Eclipse did pick now Finny like they did last game. Just some comfort picks here.
Yeah, I think Luna is so good in this spot. Zentaro coming out. Oh, that indicates it's gonna be Rasmus goalie, isn't it?
Goalie.
Oh, I don't like that. I don't like that. It's not that Andy is horrible at it, but when you're in playoffs, you need to play to your outs, and I feel like this is a very like non-committal composition.
I think it's not bad because if you're picking a damaged midfielder off of that, Estelle is okay, but I'd prefer like a Vice. Kai. Okay. Yeah, because the way this comp would work if you're playing Zentaro Rasmus is you pick like a Vice, and then you have Zen and Vice do their damage, and you have Rasmus use the hook on that brawler for the kill confirm. But if you're playing Kai midfield, you don't have that damage. You're handicapping your frontline damage and your backline damage. So this is pretty much just a complete core control game right now for freaking esports. And Chikara Eclipse might flourish in that scenario.
Yeah, I think Chikara Eclipse are happy with this outcome here because the freaking esports damage is not as overwhelming, and that's where I think they're gonna excel, unless freaking Chris has a career performance on this guy. I just think this comp is too non-committal. It's not really going in any direction.
Yeah, I think the Kai pick is it will have its shine moments. It will have its very particular moments of the Giga Blast with fight or flight Kai. He'll be flying around the map, but I think that we'll see a lot of situations where now we'll be able to isolate the core with Juliet, and they'll dash punch Rasmus, and he'll get scored on. And I'm pretty sure that will be because both of those forwards are not low on health. They're getting a lot of room to work with, and that's exactly what Chikara Eclipse wants in this game is room. And Kai can't really take room from people. So we'll see how it plays out.
Yep, we're gonna load it in just a second. Any final thoughts? Because I think I've made my opinion really clear. I guess any thoughts on the Chikara Eclipse comp? It's comfort, but more than that.
I think the Juliet is going to do very well here. I think this is a great game for Juliet because of that lack of damage. Unless Rasmus gets a very good build on his own and is able to deal out damage on his own, he won't have that support from freaking Chris too much. So Juliet won't actually be under too much pressure, and when she's not under pressure, I think Zonseki will have a lot of pop-off moments this game.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we'll have to be waiting for just a little bit longer, but once we get into the game, we'll see how it goes. Scandals was playing very comfortably on the Finny in the first game, despite the damage occurring all around him, so when that is not the case anymore, I expect great things from Chikara Eclipse. heading into it for real now. Zanzeki on this Juliet. A lot of weight on Zanzeki's shoulders, but I think he can get it done.
Opting for pummelers, by the way, and Sero's going Wand Zentaro even despite the Kai, so it looks like they haven't completely given up on the damage just yet. If they do find this self-sustaining sufficient damage, even if Kai chooses to barrage people, it could still work out, yeah. The way it plays out, they could just play damage Kai. You never know, maybe they play damage Kai. But the momentum is looking very strongly already in the favor of Chikara Eclipse because they have that Finny, that control. So Zanzeki he has pummelers, by the way, so he will be looking for a lot of dash punches this game, and he might find a lot of them too.
Chris barely managing to run away just in time to not get KO'd for the first Pummeler's activation here. Still getting chipped down, though. Needs to be careful around Zanzeki. Andy, though, playing a bit of midfield, finds a barrier from the midfield line and goes for a hook play as well. Not quite fully, but freaking Chris controlling the core, making sure that Andy can rotate backwards and forwards. And maybe that flexibility will become a strength, especially as freaking Chris is utilizing this speed.
Oh, flip into passive flip. Very strong. Good Giga Blast to cover the outclear there. Sero finding a bit of a flashy play here, take that second barrier. This could be what they need for the point, but Andy waiting for the outclear is not able to get it in time as the barrier is taken. A very open net here, and both teams are good at playing into them, so this point might not be too long.
We'll see. Andy rocking the core forward. Sero trying to set up, taking a ton of damage with the Giga Blast. Make sure to trade it back onto Cragley here. The bounces come out from the big finish. A passing play to Zanzeki, looking for an opportunity, but the primary well-timed to send it away. Zanzeki, though, has cooldowns, but the dribble goes slightly awry. There's the shot from Scandals as Sero flicks it to the bottom side. More than enough speed on this Finny, who has the boots. That's a KO, though, and Zanzeki with the Pumwars is flying across the map. Andy hot-shotting it as well, but needs to be careful of the pass from Zanzeki to Cragley and back. Building up a lot of meter as well are the Chikara Eclipse forwards here, but unable to get a flip out in time. Will interrupt the dash from Sero, and Sero will send it, oh no, backwards right into the net, and that's going to be the first point.
Yeah, and it's just looking so good for the tempo of Chikara Eclipse here. Even despite that, what happened to Sero there, the point was still looking good for them regardless, because Zanzeki just built that flip and Cragley was spending his own. So it feels like the way the game is playing out is in favor of them. FRCK Esports might have to find some adaptation to win this game, because right now Zanzeki is just getting a flip into dash punch to take that second barrier, and already they're looking to pose some more offense in the open net.
They just don't have enough damage pressure, right? Zanzeki low now. Maybe they can find a KO here. Oh, but a flip having to be burned by Chris, being pressured by himself, and the damage is just not quite there. Not quite enough to make Zanzeki have to play uncomfortably. Cragley can follow up. Zanzeki can find the goal. And Chikara Eclipse, they get to play their game here.
Who the damage is there for is Chikara Eclipse here. Both points, they've gotten a kill. And both kills, they've gotten that pummeler speed on Zanzeki, very potent. 30% for the entirety of the power play, which is a lot of movement speed to get, especially as everything else has been nerfed. As it remains, it's just very strong, so if they do find like a dash punch or just a damage kill, which they're not uncommon with that Finny goalie, Zanzeki gets a lot of movement speed to work with for these power plays. It's really working out for them. It's looking like they're the damage team right now.
Cragley in the midfield as Scandal sets up the big finish. Zanzeki again low, but it feels like the moment they stagger Zanzeki, that's when they have used every single ability, and Zanzeki can just evade well, just walk away from a lot of the attempts at KOing. Another barrier take. Scandal's knocked away to take a barrier for frickin' esports, and Zanzeki back to help to putting on damage on Sero, putting on the pressure as Andy is forced to play very carefully, but finds a great pendulum swing. The net opened, and maybe they can find something here.
That's right, Zanzeki has this dash punch and fishing for it on Andy, but Andy's a little more aware than that than Zanzeki would hope. However, a now primary will take off Sero from the map, and he has a flip to work with, and as long as he can hold it, he will. However, he's forced to use it off that open shot there. Frickin' Chris does have his cooldowns to work with, but he loses a same frame strike war to Zanzeki, crucially, as the set is over for Chikara Eclipse.
That's the dominant set for Chikara Eclipse, and that just might be the rest of the game as well, as this draft's looking pretty good for them, I gotta say. But frickin' Esports is not going to be too sad either, I think.
I don't know, the Might of the Colossus Julie's very scared to deal with, and now we'll have that Monumentalist pickup. I'm not really sure if frickin' esports have anything in comparison, anything to threaten to that, like, echelon here. Finny is able to deny heavy impact from Zentaro, and really, what does frickin' esports get here? Specialized Kai, fast Erasmus, and they start spark scaling even though there's 2 in the same draft. It's really looking bad for them in the future of this game, as this set alone might be difficult, but the rest of the game will be too.
Yeah, the moment I said those words, I looked at the draft and I was like, wait, no.
Yeah.
It's looking pretty bad, actually, but maybe freaking Chris can utilize those Giga Blasts to create some magic here as the corner stuffed up. Andy trying to get some hit stun in. Freaking Chris rotating around with the speed gate, but are taking so much damage in the process. Sero is on death's door already. Not long for this world. They need to score before that occurs as Andy picks up some speed of his own, but there's the KO, and Scandal's dropping back perfectly to defend Chikara Eclipse. Even though they dropped both barriers, it doesn't feel like they've lost control, and an own barrier from freaking Chris. Oh no.
An own barrier leading into a second one too. Kragley is looking a little low off from taking that Zentaro abilities there, and taking Erasmus secondary to dissuade the ult healing, but really they have no kill confirmed for him, and he's going to be safe for the rest of the point, I think. It's a dangerous situation for frickin' esports here, as Andy is walking up to make sure nothing collapses onto him. Though a Giga Blast is on cooldown now, it's looking a bit dangerous for frickin' esports here.
And they're not really finding good attempts at the goal. Scandals is finding a lot of good strikes, but not high pressure strikes, right? Just hitting in good angles with plenty of time to think. And that's going to be difficult for frickin' esports to really create plays at all, it feels like, when the damage is coming up from Zanseki and the meters being built at the same time.
Yeah, this is the kind of game where if you're frickin' esports, you just have no idea how to win the game anymore. It's like you have no win condition, you have no chances, and everything that is scoring is like a hero play or a miracle. There's no consistent engine that they have. There's no well-oiled machine to run for scoring these goals here. And it kind of looks like they're lost here as a result.
Yeah, just a simple flip to the top side as Zanseki pressures with the dash punch. Kragley gets another goal for Chikara Eclipse. And it feels like a game where it's just 5 more goals till the end. And like you said, any goal from frickin' esports is a hero play.
Yeah, but if any character can make those random hero plays, it is Kai midfield. Zentaro's no bad brawler for it either, but the issue is that you're playing into a backline of Now and Finny, and you're getting dash punched by Zanseki. It's impossible to deal with a situation like that with just this comp alone, especially when you're only one person on the map here. Scandals is, good Giga Blast to get that second barrier, but now Kai doesn't have any resources to get that last goal with. As Sero's looking down, has to get orbs to recover. It's looking, the tempo is technically in favor of frickin' esports, but they don't have anything convincing going on here.
What?
Scandals does not flip to save the ball there, goes right through Kragley, okay. A miracle or a blunder is all they need, but going with the next point, I guess, yeah, Sero finding an upwards shot, and Scandals opting to hold his flip. We'll see if he can put it to good use in the rest of this point.
Yeah, but the thing with Scandals having the flip, right, that's like the anti-hero play creator. It's a hero play killer, really, the goalie having flip in a lot of cases. So even though that was an awkward goal, it feels like if there's another similar breakaway from freaking Chris or Sero here. But wait a second, Sero strike warning the flip, has the flip here, gets 2 barriers, looking like a hero right now, I gotta say.
I think so, yeah. Very convincing here, but Andy is barely not able to catch that with the Whiplash, and a double barrier is looking very possible here. Good specialized training Giga Blast to clear it out with a horizontal angle. The card will send it forward from Scandals, though.
Andy now in a lot of trouble. The follow-up there from Kragley and Zanseki. Secondary into strike. Now another KO comes through. Sero forced to help defend, but it goes around the world. Zanseki misses the shot, but it's okay. There are plenty of time to work with here. And Andy does not flinch. Gets it out of the corner. The Flame Flurry, the dash, though, is enough. And Zanseki will get KO and the goal here. 1 goal away from the set.
Yeah, this game is just so heavily in favor of Chikara Eclipse, even despite Sero's flashy plays there on the barriers. As a result of them, he just spent so many cooldowns and doesn't have any more to score the goal with. Meaning you need multiple instances of good breakaways to score a single point on this team, and it's not looking possible, especially into this double flip scenario on both forwards here. Zanseki barely doesn't find a dash punch, and Kragley is looking very low, but because we ulted to get him there, we don't actually have anything to finish off the kill with.
Zanseki, a barrier take now, flip available, close to the wall, and not quite enough to get the goal itself, but a lot of pressure being put on by Chikara Eclipse here. Freaking Chris trying to get it around Cragley. So much space in the midfield being taken up by that Monumentalist now, as freaking Chris gets bursted down, looks for a strike war, dash punch off the map. Sero in position perhaps, but no, just not enough mobility all alone. And Zanseki and Cragley slowly approach the goal, looking to put an end to this set as Scandals walks up as well. But Andy's rotating the core quite well, rotating up a little bit and stalling out for the respawn just enough.
Yeah, Sero forced to ult on his own offense a little early, though. As a result, he won't have it for this. Cragley will take a Giga Blast here. He is quite low, but because Sero doesn't have the ult, again, there's no kill confirm that we found with it. Freaking Chris is forced to evade here. No meter, but nothing to convert or threaten it. And Scandal used that second barrier with his flip. He has it to work with for this open net, but he will be playing with that open net. And unluckily, Andy will get stunned off of that hook, not able to convert, and it will fly right past him off of his own hook. That is very unfortunate, and the set will end as a result.
Yeah, I think Andy was a little overcooking that defense there. Was playing excellently up until just overholding the core, it feels like. And now this draft is still looking pretty bad for friggin' esports, unfortunately.
Yeah, the explosive entrance will be denied away, and it's a strong awakening for now to pick up to the dash range and the extra damage. Juliet will get 1-2 punch. We'll start seeing that very threatening pummeler's kill pressure come in here. A Size Awakening comes in for Rasmus, which is strong. Everyone in this draft gets something solid, right? There's no real loser of this draft, but the difference is that I think Chikara Eclipse is going to win more based off the Awakenings they got, especially if Zanseki finds these dash punch kills, which he's been looking for all game.
We'll see if that is the case here. Andy pushing forward here. Freaking Chris already low, getting KO'd, and Zanseki making full use of that 1-2 punch to put on the damage and the knockback. 2 barriers attempted, not quite the angle for both of them here, but we'll find it on the follow-up. And Zanseki just continuing to run the offense. The damage pressure just not there to force Zanseki out of there.
That's right, in this open net, it's just so hard to deal with again and again. Frickin' Chris is using everything he can. He has that cast to last movement speed to work with, especially Giga Blast barely not covering that barrier. And as a result, he just doesn't have anything to score with now. Playing into that double defensive backline, it's just Kai alone can't do it. And Sero is on this offense now, but the issue is that he's so low that he can't actually walk up. He does find a passive to confirm the kill on Zanseki, though, pretty crucially.
That's pretty good. We'll see if that continues, though. Freaking Chris looking for the Giga Blast, doesn't get the barrier off of it. So many flips burned by Chikara Eclipse, and Sero sets up and finds the barrier here. Health bar's low. Sero almost KO'd, barely surviving, gets the KO on Scandals instead. Another one for Sero, and this is looking like what freaking esports needed as Andy finishes it off.
Look how good this team looks when they're dealing damage and getting these kills. They're so good at the scenario. I think this game would have gone so differently if they drafted differently. Notably, by the way, the Kai is 2 levels behind the whole lobby. He's really not able to play into the, honestly, damaging team of Chikara Eclipse. They're double barriered, and haste alone is not enough to win this game for them.
Yeah, continuing to put on the damage onto Cragley. They're trying. A little bit late, it feels like, but they are trying to put on the damage here, trying to focus on that win condition as Cragley gets brought a little bit low, but the big finish is enough, well activated by Scandals, as this game is reaching close to its conclusion, it feels like.
Absolutely, a very heroic play in that first point from them, but it's not consistent. They don't have any consistency going on in comparison to Chikara Eclipse, who has a very, very strong core of their team, which is that now Fini. They're able to keep that for as long as they want, and Zanseki gets all the time in the world to find those flashy Juliet plays or a dash punch to go for a power play here. And again, we see that same exact scenario come in for freaking esports, and they only take 1 barrier. They have nothing convincing going on. As a result, it's really hard for them to win this game.
And Chris rushing forward, trying to find the barrier early. Zanseki brought low, this time he can blast it off the map. A freaking esports, inconsistent, but still finding something in this set here. Trying to turn it around is not going to be easy, though, as Scandal still has that flip available.
That's right, and this power play is... It seems like it kind of simmered away, but Cragley is getting strong damage pressure on him, so they might actually be able to find something. However, because Cragley is not continued on that pressure, he has nothing resetting his regen timer, he's able to recover back up, and it's like the power play never really happened. However, the point will stall out and overtime will hit, which is a testament to how the fact that the power play happened in the first place. We'll see what Zanseki can do with his core here.
Good save by Andy to not lose a barrier at all here, but the core is going to rotate around, and that will be one barrier being taken by Chikara Eclipse. Looking for two. Not quite, as Sero gets a weird displacement knockback here, and they send it around the world, find the barrier, and maybe even look for the goal here if they can build the cooldowns back up. Freaking Chris can utilize that speed. The barrage not quite there. The Giga Blast is quite there, as Sero puts on the pressure with the dribble. Andy trying to send it forward here, and they will get it to freaking Chris, who is looking incredibly low, but still surviving in the enemy half.
It's hard to close out this kill on freaking Chris. He will be low, and he'll be off the ball. However, he won't be killed as Sero finds an isolated core around Zonseki, who is able to find a clean open shot as Scandals opts for the card to cover low.
A lot of meter on the side of Chikara Eclipse, but the same can be said about Sero and Andy. The Flips are going to make this point quite the hectic one here, as there's a standoff at the core on kickoff. We'll see if Zonseki can convert one barrier already down. It's a good sign for Chikara Eclipse when they're going for the offense here, but Andy will calmly strike it away and convert into a barrier on the other end. And frickin' esports, they're not looking too bad here.
That's right, Andy getting a strong clear outside there. Zonseki will find a dash punch flip to kill Andy. However, Sero will heroically save it with his own. I actually wasn't expecting anything to happen off that except for that second barrier being taken. Zonseki is low with no evade, but they don't have the cooldowns to force it out here. And freaking Chris will try to hit it backwards for a clear, but it will hit their own barrier. Very strong defense, barely not covering it, as, again, very strong offense too with Cragley. Looking very pressuring on this now pick. A strike war on the primary will keep this point alive, though. They're looking for something strong on this like dash punch, like 3v2 here. So.
And they're looking for a decisive end to the point, but Andy's not giving to them just yet. Rotating it down to freaking Chris. Scandals the flip available. It almost gets past. Stopped by Sero with the Oni's blade. They're trying to get it away from Cragley at the moment, and they will manage to prevent any strike war situations from occurring at all. Cragley gets a hold of it for a moment, but freaking Chris stuffs it out once again. And now Scandals, no meter available, forced to defend. Cooldowns dwindling. And once again, it goes to Zonseki, unable to pick it up cleanly. And Cragley taking a lot of chip damage here. They're trying to find a power play of freaking esports. They need one, really, it feels like.
Yeah, but it's completely batted away by that now ult as she's back to full health. They do find a flip for that second barrier. We'll see if they can use their resources for this open net here. As they get the ball to Sero, not quite as Scandals clears it away, but it isn't compressed in this corner. Barely Scandals clears out through the Zentaro ult, very clean, no evade to work with, so he just had to strike it and let it fly. And he does have a flip to work with here, so the offense is not... Sero with a passive, a primary, sending it upwards barely past Scandals' strike hitbox. With that 146 power in overtime. Very clean, and honestly, we've been talking about the tempo and the momentum and how impossible this game is, but freaking esports is now taking a set.
Yeah, they can really focus on the damage game here. I think that will make the difference, because in that last set, they started focusing down a player, putting on the pressure, and making so that Chikara Eclipse couldn't play their offense as consistently, right?
If any draft belongs to them, it's this one. This is a extra special specialized training Kai, Stinger Zentaro, which is very notable, and the team player Rasmus, which is going to make clearing and overtime very scary. It's also a great deny from the enemy team. I think this draft is very good for them. If anything is going to get them to come back, I think it would be that kind of draft. A Stinger on Sero, I will point out, is one of the most important pickups here, as they barely were lacking that damage. That was their issue. Barely, just not enough damage to get themselves in that kill confirm range. However, with the Stinger pickup, it might actually change.
I'll say, though, I think it was mentioned as well by some spectators. I do not like Andy just throwing out that hook for damage. I think the team has enough without that, and Andy has been making important plays with the hook, so not having that could be a huge problem in a lot of these close situations.
Yeah, but very strong clears, barely getting it out to gravity well, and good damage on Zonseki, too. He's very low, gets healed away by now, but she's not enough. He's still low. Zentaro has abilities to work with. Specialized Training Giga Blast comes in, however, Cragley solo takes that barrier. 1v2. Freaking Chris does not find a kill confirm on Zonseki.
Sero building up a lot of meter here. The Oni's blade will finish off the flip. Looking for two barriers, and wow, the rebound to freaking Chris. Perfectly angled, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely. And Cragley's taken out by Specialized Training. Giga Blast from freaking Chris is really showing itself here. These Giga Blasts are so strong and so frequent with that Happy Star pickup. And again, Sero's finding a lot of damage on these scoring attempts. And he does not flip to save the ball. You can't do that.
You can even flip after you miss the strike. Like, come on, man.
Yeah. Oh my. All good, though. We're seeing the pace good for them. Even if the point would be strong if they won it, they're coordinating damage on Cragley, notably. However, they coordinated their Rasmus hook, which is the kill confirm they want to have. They don't any longer have it to kill Cragley here, who will just regenerate like nothing happened.
Yeah, and unfortunately, they're not going to get anything concrete. They do keep up the damage on Cragley here, and Sero is just in the enemy half, continuously putting on that pressure onto Cragley. Zanseki, though, 1v1 here, forces Andy to burn the flip. The KO could come through for freaking Chris or Sero, perhaps, but the confirms are just not there, and the regen's coming through for Chikara Eclipse.
And again, if any team would have struggle with kill confirming, I don't think it would be freaking esports. They have Rasmus Hook, they have Kai Barrage and the specialized training Giga Blast, and they have any of Zentaro's kit. It's a very strong kill confirming team, but I feel like they just don't have the abilities anytime they get someone staggered to actually close it out. They are getting this team so low so frequently, though, as Zanseki and Scandals are both staggered. Cragley has to choose one to heal, and Sero has this flip to work with in this offense. Going to play for an angle here, doesn't quite find it, as Andy is able to catch the rebound.
Freaking Chris topside, looking for the barrage, not quite enough as Zanseki helps out on the defense. Sero setting up with the slice and dice, not quite enough either, as Andy now, the team player, fully activated, but a barrier takes Zanseki on the rebound. Cragley continuing to put on the pressure to flamethrower for the hit stun, not quite enough, and team player all the way forward for Andy here. Sero rushing forward as well, but a good secondary from Cragley to make sure that isn't the goal just yet. Sero now, the Oni's Blade burn, not many abilities left, but we'll just strike war 2 entire people to the bottom side and keep freaking esports afloat.
He had no cooldowns, he spent them all in the last offense, but because he got the ball one more time, he found a great strike war, a great angle to barely send it in. That's a hero play again. They're finding these more frequently as they get more possession, more pressure with this damage potency. They're really making this game their own.
Definitely a possibility. Freaking Chris walks around the debuff. Importantly, Zanseki would have pounced on the damage, and the slowly drifting core takes the first barrier here of this point. It's 1-1, but it feels like freaking esports, they are a little bit further ahead than that, as long as they can make sure this last barrier stands up. But the follow from Cragley says no to that, and the bounce off the terrain makes sure Sero can't make a push to the top side either. The big finish stopping it for Cragley to strike away, and Zanseki just fully rotated to the other side, looking for a set-up play. Not quite, but very, very close, and Chikara Eclipse continuing to threaten these scores.
Yeah, but freaking Chris, with all that movement speed, is able to deny pretty much anywhere they want to send the ball for this offense. Because of this Kai pick, he's able to stall out the points, and that might be what they need, especially with this team player. As overtime is going to hit quite soon, Zanseki's flip is something to look out for, but it's so low that it's hard to get value out of. Sero has the core now, it falls loose, but they still have possession to work with. They're not in too dangerous of a position, but Zanseki barely finds a down shot, and he's able to bat it away with Whiplash, though. A dash punch will come in, and a power play is in the favor of Chikara Eclipse. Poor
stop for now. Cragley, Zanseki flick to the bottom side. Not quite enough to get in the goal itself. 4 seconds left on the power play. The hit stun away from Andy. No meter available, but Zanseki doesn't quite get the KO, even with the 1-2 punch, but freaking Chris doesn't react in time. Cragley with the hero shot as it was looking bad for Chikara Eclipse, and a freaking esports. They were so close in 2 out of these 3 points, and instead of 3-0, it's 1-2.
Yeah, the moment they got like the great tempo momentum swing for them, Cragley finds a great shot in between all of them for Chris not able to cover it. And again, they're 1 point away from winning this set and winning the game as a result. But if anything, it's the tempo in favor. It really feels like the momentum has shifted. The hero plays are coming in for Chikara Eclipse, and the tempo is in favor. But all it takes is Andy walking away from the core one time like that, and suddenly the game is looking over. Andy is dead, freaking Chris is low, and Sero has no flip to work with.
Zanseki with the flip. That's going to be the end of it, as Chikara Eclipse take their game on their map here. It wasn't looking too great, but freaking esports, they almost had something. It was just miscommunication. It was slip-ups in the last set that prevented them from keeping this one going.
Yeah, they found their win con and they started to play towards it in the later parts of that game, but Chikara Eclipse still showing they were strong enough to close it out, not quite getting that comeback on them. Keeping it in favor of their own selves. And I think the draft was so good for them in that character draft. They did such a better job drafting. And it showed itself versus freaking esports there. They found a lot of pressure all game. It was pressure. 13 KOs for Juliet. Not all of them were knockback. A lot of it was damage too. And the damage coming in for Scandals and Cragley. And Zanseki alone too. It was really strong in favor of Chikara Eclipse. They were finding a lot of consistency.
Yeah, and well, I hope that freaking esports leans more into that damage because they're a team that excels when they do that. The first game, a perfect example of what they're capable of. Game 3 will be on Imi's app, and I think that will be more reflective of that kind of thing, but with Zanzeki excelling on the Juliet so much, that might also be a threat as well.
Yeah, notably, Amy's app is not quite a damage map, but more of a knockback map. You're not picking Wand on that map, you're picking pummelers. You're picking characters like Drakkar, who do deal damage, but also characters like Juliet, who just excel in finding those center KOs. You don't want to give that to Zanzeki this game, especially considering how well he's been showing himself playing it on this single game here on Night Market. So this next draft is going to be very interesting. I think the better drafting team will win here.
Yeah, and again, game 3, it is that Imi Zap map, and what do you think would be the draft that freaking esports need? Because I think we know what the side of Chikara Eclipse is comfortable with, what they're going to pick, but freaking esports, so what kind of game plan would you like to see from them?
Well, Sero is good on that Rasmus pick. It's a very strong character for him, so if he can find that Rasmus, even despite his value and priority in this draft, if it's not banned, if it is open, even despite like a Zanzeki picking Juliet maybe, having that Rasmus pick on your brawler is very strong, especially on Sero, who has that as a comfort character on his own. Also, Drakkar. I think the absolute priority on Amy's app is Drakkar. You want to pick Pummeler's Drakkar as soon as you can. You ban it if you're not blue side even. Or you don't and let them get Juliet or Drakkar and then you pick the other one. But ultimately, you want your team to have Drakkar because of that massive knockback he has, because of damage pressure. So if they do get Drakkar, they can put frickin' Chris on it. They can get Sarah and Zentaro, for instance. And with that, that would be a very strong team comp. And that would be playing at the damage, too, which they've been so excelling at. So I think Andy on Luna. I want to see Andy on Luna here, like I did last game, because he looks so good on the pick, and it would be good for this game state, too.
All right, well, the Starting Awakenings will be revealed in just a second here as the draft loads up. And it is looking like a pretty interesting one. Explosive Entrance and Cast Last. That's going to incentivize the Drakkar even more, it feels like.
Absolutely. And the Zentaro pick, again, which isn't traditionally a massive priority on Amy's app, is shooting up in value now, because if you do get that Drakkar, you get the Zentaro. You can play both. Drakkar does the damage with explosive, Zentaro gets the kill confirm with explosive. It would be a very strong comp if they find that on their forward duo, if Chikara Eclipse does lock in something like Julie without banning any of the other characters. So the explosive entrance pick, I think Cast Last can be almost completely ignored, barring some goalie picks, because you really want to play around the explosive. The extra damage, the dash range, would be so vital for a game like this in Amy's app. You really want to see those specific characters being picked in.
Yep. Well, the draft starting up, we should be seeing the picks coming in. Chikara Eclipse being on the blue side, you'd think they have a lot more control over what's going on here, but I guess, what do you expect them to ban out of all the characters?
Well, I don't know. I think banning Drakkar is very, very important, which they did. It's very good for them to ban Drakkar. If they didn't, I think they would be actually losing this draft really, really hard. But because they did, they're in a good spot now. Freaking Chris opting to ban Amy, which hasn't been picked by Chikara Eclipse yet, but it still could, as Cragley does have an Amy. They're going to first pick Rasmus, and there's a Vice Julie coming in as a result. Not a bad team comp. Vice has very good knockback, and Juliet is traditionally very good on Amy's app. And Juliet also, notably, will be taking Explosive Entrance. Both characters are good with Explosive here, as that extra knockback comes in for Julie, buffing the ultimate and the primary. I think this Pummelers with those extra knockback increases would actually be pretty good for this team here.
Yeah, and that Zentaro you were talking about is coming out as well for Chikara Eclipse here. That's going to be interesting to watch, but that does concern me a little bit. That's going to be Scandals on the Rasmus goalie, perhaps?
Maybe. Is it Rasmus goalie, or is it Rasmus midfield Zentaro brawler?
Oh, it's midfield then. It's probably, yeah.
Yeah, Finney comes in, so it's Rasmus midfield. And that's a team comp that you can really damage. If you pick Luna here, Luna is a very good pick here, I think, because if you pick Luna on Andy and Vice midfield, then you have very, very strong damage pressure on them, and if you can just shoot Zentaro all game, then they really have a trouble scoring on you pretty much the entire time. So you can play a very potent damage game here, especially with Juliet's kill confirm with her ult and her lingering KO pressure with Dash Punch. If Sero can find these knockback kills, they pick Estelle. So I think it's going to be Vice goalie Estelle midfield, which is still strong for damage, especially with explosive entrance.
Yeah, the Estelle's gonna do its job here. It feels like the Vice goalie as well. You mentioned wanting to see that potentially from Andy. I will say though, a little disappointing we're not seeing the Luna, but I guess with the starting awakenings kind of sucking for Luna, I think that's probably the reason why it wasn't picked by frickin' esports.
Yeah, really the only pick you can get is that extra 15% damage on Luna ult, which isn't a very strong awakening to pick for your character. So again, the Vice is notably a very, very good explosive entrance user, so I would prioritize that character too for myself. And we might see its value coming in here. Explosive Fini isn't too valuable. We might opt to see Scandals and Cast last this game, just for that stronger ultimate. But the way the game will play out, I think it really all lingers on Sero's ability to land dash punches. If Sero can find good dash punches and find that pressure and threaten them, then he'll be the Julie pick will be vindicated. It'll be a very, very strong pick here, especially with that Vice in tandem to slow the game down, slow the Estelle down, get the extra damage that rolls in. I think this will be a very strong pick for frickin' esports, so long as they can get that team comp rolling. I think Chikara Eclipse has a good thing going with their Rasmus, but they need to find those hooks too. And at a baseline, I think they might be better with the Fini goalie.
Yep, we're gonna head into the game in a little bit here. But taking a look at the Chikara, the freaking esports composition. What do you think? I guess is gonna be the most important thing for them to do in this first point, because I feel like they're a comp that could have a little bit of trouble against Rasmus as soon as that level 2 ticks over. What do you think they should do, especially in the very, very start of the game?
Well, as the game kicks off, I think they really want to, again, Julie starts with Dash Punch, Rasmus doesn't start with Hook. So they do have that instant knockback advantage, but it's nothing insane to worry about as level 2 is so fast. What they really want to look for is damage. I think they want to shoot Zentaro pretty quickly with that Vice. Maybe find a primary into secondary. Maybe find Estelle primary on him. With the explosive entrance, you want to get Zentaro low immediately, I think, as it might transition into a very strong rest of the point. And if they can get that going, they get their ults first, they can snowball this game pretty hard, I think.
Right, it's Amy Zap. We're getting started here. It's going to be a very, very important matchup here. You either guarantee yourself top 3 in the season, or you are in a lot of trouble. Seki, though, unfortunately, looks to have disconnected.
No, he's striking. Maybe his movement keys just aren't working or something.
Oh?
Okay. All right. The game is starting for real this time.
A little bit of an awkward kickoff here, but it does seem like the game has begun, and we'll see how it goes. The barrier take very early from the side of Chikara Eclipse, and it really feels like the pressure isn't quite there. Sero pushing forward, Andy as well. The secondary activated. Not quite enough for the side of friggin' esports until they get in there, they blow up Cragley, and they find the barrier, they find the damage, they find the KO, and this is the friggin' esports we wanted to see in game 2.
Yeah, very strong kill from Chris there. Long distance of Stealth Thorns into a primary, tracking Cragley very, very well. If there's anything I want to see from Andy, it is these secondaries being placed on the middle of the map, the mid-line. Because it's so condensed, it's a lot more area you're covering here. As almost a kill confirm on Seki, just raw knockback with explosive entrance there. Barely not quite, but the damage alone is enough for a dash punch to kill. And Andy's flip will be able to take a top shot into the goal. Very well played from Frickin' Esports. I think the tempo is very strong in their favor here. They're looking like themselves from game 1 again.
Absolutely. Scandals built up a lot of meter in the process, but the highlight really is the damage pressure, and right now that's on Sero. The big finish not popped in time, though, to stagger that Juliet and the hook a little bit early as well. Freaking Chris going to take advantage, going to take the barrier, going to create the offense for the side of freaking esports, and importantly, as long as freaking esports can keep the barrier up, might have cursed it a little bit in the process, they have so much offense that they can use with Andy walking up with the secondary pressure on the midline, like you mentioned. Freaking Chris, though, needs to watch out a little bit, but that hook completely ineffective, unfortunately, and Sarah going to capitalize yet again. But Andy, oh no, hits it right into the Scandal snipe, and Scandals is going to be happy with that one. It's 1-1.
Yeah, rushing the play a little too soon. They could have forced out Scandals' flip with that power play. Again, we're seeing, at the very least, the consistent damage pressure on Craggy is showing itself, especially with the kill confirm from Juliet, the ult into their own net with that especially. Freaking Chris has no meter to work with, but this defense isn't requiring it, especially with no evade clears, no flips required. However, they are able to isolate the play with Craggy in a 1v1 versus Andy, and because of that, Andy is teleporting forward and missing his strike. He's not able to save that right afterwards.
Yeah, it kind of feels like freaking esports are a little nervous here. It is game 3 after all, and you do not want to drop the losers. It would be not a good spot to be in here. They do get a lot of burst damage onto Zonseki, but that evade has been built up. The orb is being chased, and again, freaking esports are not playing with the same confidence.
Yeah, but all they need to, really, it's going to build itself back up as they reset the momentum boost. They find the kill with freaking Chris here, and this offense is looking very good on Finny. They take the barrier. Sarah is looking very low, but it's really hard to kill him here because Rasmus doesn't have that hook to work with. So Andy in this position does whip the flip. The damage will be strong as Scandals is low, but they're not able to find anything insane here. Sarah with a dash punch. The explosive entrance lingers the dash long enough to kill Scandals. What was that?
Yeah, lingers long enough, and then at the very end got the strike as well, right, to secure the goal.
That's right.
That's the explosive entrance magic right there. And if they can hold on here, I think freaking esports could scale like crazy even further into this game. Chikara Eclipse, it kind of feels like they need to win this set to set themselves up in a good spot.
Yeah, Sero being damaged so much, though. If anyone's a damage target in this game for Chikara Eclipse, it is him, as he's so easy to damage, and once you do, you can see how the offense kind of crumbles for freaking esports if they don't have that Juliet to cap it off. However, he's on the offensive now with his ult, and Zonseki being staggered. He will threaten a lot from here, but barely recovering from stagger as Zonseki is kept alive. He's back low again after the ultimate, though.
Oh, and freaking Chris manages to steal away that barrier, and now just blinks in, explosive entrance, secondary, the Rose Warp in the midst of everyone, finds the flip, finds the goal, and the namesake of freaking esports wants to make sure they place at least top 3 here.
Dash Range Estelle can do it whenever she wants. She can always just jump in with a flip at any moment, and freaking Chris opting for the best time possible. A Monumentalist Finny is worth considering, but it's not worth denying, as Vice has so many strong makings to choose from. Going for the prize fighter here, as Vice will be participating in a lot of this damage. I think Estelle, getting the bulk up as a staggered Nye and damage pickup is very potent, and now Juliet will not get that 1-2 punch, never, ever, but she will get Fight or Flight or Spark of Leadership. Spark of Leadership is a good pickup here, because the first set there's no other spark, and it can scale into a Spark of Strength, which is exactly what Juliet wants.
Alright, we'll see if that is indeed what happens here. Spark scaling a possibility, and my eyes are on those Andy Prizefighter stacks. Any assist would be great. Trying to get the early damage here. Not going to get any of it. Not the barrier just yet either, as the cores rotated away. But freaking Chris is so active with these Rose Warps, putting on the pressure, making sure that Chikara Eclipse are nervous on the defense, and they just collapse. They find the staggered targets, and they find the barrier, and they find the dash. They find everything here other than the goal.
Only freaking Chris can confirm this kill on Zonseki, though, as no one else has an ability.
Oh.
He doesn't quite find it as it goes right into the bumpers. Zonseki weaving around the orb, Andy's primary is just barely missed there. And Zonseki has a good scoring opportunity here. They're isolating the play, however, Andy's walking up, ready to defend this before it reaches to him, not being collapsed on. And Sarah finds a damage kill dash punch, and it starts a power play here, and Sarah has that pummeler's movement speed, and it's going to close at this point very, very convincingly, as well as a cherry on top, getting that energy away from Zonseki.
Yep, the energy advantage is massive for freaking esports in this one here. They basically have 3 flips on the board, and with freaking Chris playing so well, the flip on the Estelle, finding the KO of all things, the barrier taken on the other end, but as long as you can keep the core up, you're happy with that.
Yeah, the Rasmus hook, we've been seeing, I saw it connect on Sero there, but the knockback wasn't even close to enough to kill. Cragly really needs a pickup here, a strong pickup, especially without those pummelers. He has slick kicks right now. So the knockback is not enough to get anything convincing here. A ult on an evadeless Rasmus is more than enough to close out the kill, though.
Now freaking Chris against Scandals looking for the dash punch drift is Zero, not quite enough here. And Andy not trying to risk anything, even though the range wasn't quite there here. But Andy pushed up a little bit too far, and the core speed will be enough to send it around the world. An unexpected goal, but Chikara Eclipse, if they can steal away a set, that would be great.
Yeah, punishing Andy for flipping for momentum there, for tempo, because he didn't have that flip to save it at the very end there. Really what FRCK Esports wants is to slow down, I think, because a slower game benefits them much more than it benefits Chikara Eclipse. So I think in favor of them here, they're taking a lot of damage on Zanseki, who now has flip, so damaging him more might be even more valuable. However, this is a very strong situation for him. Not able to find the goal immediately, but this is still a very scary spot.
Dangerous spot to be in. Zanseki putting on the damage here on the freaking Chris. Making sure the midfielder... Oh, freaking Chris, while being staggered, still manages to find a beautiful KO to the center. It's an Estelle masterclass here as Zero stays alive, but this barrier take is not looking that easy.
Explosive Entrance Estelle really showing its power here. The beam just does so much damage and knockback alone. And Scandals is going to die here off of this Vice ult, not quite positioning himself alongside the bumper there. And Cragly's going to die next. They're all so low with no evades to work with. Anything can kill. And a punch is all that needs to do it. Zanseki will spend his ult, but that means only just that he won't have it at the next point. It's on cooldown now.
One more goal for a massive lead for frickin' esports here. The only bright side for Chikara Eclipse is that the meters are relatively low on their end, so you're not going to see freaking Chris doing any crazy flip plays as Sarah goes in for a long shot KO onto Scandals. And he does so much knockback with the Thunderstruck. That's ridiculous.
Absolutely. All three of them are building just for as much percentage hit harder as they can, and that plays so well into their knockback, especially with the bulk up on Andy. The explosive entrance, or no, bulk up on freaking Chris. Explosive entrance and 4 prize fighter stacks on Andy. That's exactly the highlight you want to see if you are freaking esports. The prize fighter stacks will do so much for this team. Cragly's hook will be scary, it will force out Andy's flip, but it's not going to be enough to score. As a result, he will die with no more evade to work with.
There's the Oni's blade from Zanseki, but freaking Chris scoops it away, looking for the barrier take now in the top corner and hit stunning the goalie. Everyone collapses at the same moment, and Sarah's looking for the finisher here. Freaking Chris has the resources, blinks in, finds a strike, but right to Scandals it goes. Sarah building up a ton of meter, but very low, needs to be careful on this flip usage, and will go for it here. Not going to land, and is on death's door as a result.
Yeah, Sarah literally 0 energy, 0 HP to work with, but there's nothing insane for kill confirm on the enemy team for Chikara Eclipse for him. There's a Zentaro ult, but he's pushed away from it by a Fini card. He is left alive, and a Zentaro passive in the dash is not enough to kill. Sarah was alive still. He's on the ball. While alive, a Rasmus primary or secondary will confirm it though, as Chikara Eclipse is looking in a good spot to take this point, finally killing Sarah.
Yeah, but Andy has team player on non-team player E-strikes, right? He has so much power. But Zanseki will snipe it perfectly, and it's set up so well by Cragly on that strike. This is a point, this is a set that Chikara Eclipse can win, and they really, really do need it.
Yeah, barely enough to get that dash to score. Just exactly the range you need for that. Zanseki, having this flip, is now the target of freaking esports. With a dash punch of Vice ult, but not enough as he's wiggling around. Very good movement from him. And he's using this flip, eventually uses that flip to score, which is exactly what freaking esports was trying to avoid. Sero finds the evade to Zentaro ult as there are multiple people in there. The evade cooldown will lower, and Andy is now worse for wear. Looking very low on health, being camped by Zanseki on the eject. He can't go back. It's just up to freaking Chris to defend here.
Right to Cragly, interrupted by freaking Chris. The respawn comes in from Sero. Gonna have to burn a cooldown or 2 on defense, it feels like, but Andy recovers as well. Oh no! The slowdown on the big finish saves the goal there. Andy gets the strike back in time, still incredibly low, but has the evades to work with. The flip now available for Scandals as Sero recovers the core, keeps possession up for freaking esports. A disaster for Chikara Eclipse. Andy, though, stepping far forward is risky, but this barrier still stands for Eclipse here. As Scandals and Cragly brought low, but is still defending this single barrier that's still standing, and Zanseki will find an opening. Cragly will find the pass. It's a big set win for Chikara Eclipse.
Yeah, off of one missed primary, all you need to do is get around Vice primary once and she's completely helpless. Well, secondary takes way too long to react to an open shot like that, and she doesn't have strike shot. She takes that eject button pick. So as long as you can get around Vice primary, you can get a very clean goal on him, as Zanseki had done. Heavy Impact is taken away from Vice, but she is not too sad about it, as she has that Twin Drive and extra special to choose from. So there are 2 Sparks here, and one of them is Spark of Strength that might have to be denied from Thero here. It will be, as Zanseki's not letting him have it so easily. A Demolitionist and a Spark of Agility are both good options. Might of the Colossus Rasmus is okay, but he has no Size Awakening, nor does he have Pummelers. So it's going to only compensate for his lack of Pummelers on the knockback here. Overall, a very solid draft. Twin Drive Estelle with that dash range is very strong, and Extra Special Vice will show itself very potently here, immediately, right away.
Zanseki taking a lot of damage, but still managing to get the barrier here. And the defense has been a little bit of a struggle for freaking esports in recent times. Andy getting past everyone, though, finding the barrier. And if they can find these KOs, find these goals fast enough, that won't be an issue as Sarah goes in. Not quite the core speed to keep up with the dash, though. And they're in a dangerous spot as freaking Chris sends it forward right to Andy, who will secure the goal.
Yeah, all it takes, a very good secondary from Andy there, making it pretty much impossible for Scandals to defend as soon as it does stun that core. Freaking Chris in a great spot to score off of it. As long as they find these kind of plays, as long as they find these consistent machinery plays here, they're going to be in a very, very good spot for the rest of the game, but all it takes is an Taro passive. All of a sudden, and Andy's forced to use a flip, lost the barrier. Suddenly, Chikara Eclipse is looking very strong once more. A Finny ult is going to send it perfectly into the bottom corner too, proving it perfectly.
Yeah, well, we'll see how this set progresses here, because we've seen the weaknesses and the strengths of both teams. I think the biggest concern I have is freaking esports. Just their defense is not up to snuff in this game so far.
Yeah, it's hard to get consistent defense as Vice here when you're spending all of your cooldowns on damage. So any single mistake can happen, and there's a mistake coming in. The barrier's lost for Scandals here. Zero has a flip to work with, spending it very early, and it will be batted away by Kragley, who is low, but so is Zanseki. Either of them could be kill confirmed. However, Quangle's Zentaro ulted away from. Zanseki will barely stay alive. Very, very strong survivability from him.
Bounce all around the map, but still surviving. Same can be said about Sero. These 2 brawlers refuse to die, but Sero will finally be the one to get the KO. Freaking Chris now blinking in. Sero with the punch, with the flip from freaking Chris as well. And, well, Sero survives at the end of it all.
Yeah, eventually as Sero finds that kill, they're able to convert that power play into a flip for freaking Chris, scoring it pretty convincingly. And really, it's just with the Pummelers game like this, the first kill will be the one that wins the point a lot of the time, as long as they can convert those power plays. With a Vice ult like that, very good charge from it. Sero is low, he gets the orb, and Zanseki is now the one super, super low to deal with, and Scandals is forced to use that flip as no one else can hold that upwards corner. Zanseki is again about to die, as he is the main target of the enemy team here. Freaking esports, always looking for these kills on him. Kragley is the one that's low, though, being targeted, as he is kill confirmable with an Estelle. However, a flip will randomly send Zanseki into the well. Julia Primary will close out the set too, killing Kragley just to send a message, I suppose.
Yeah, that's a big set win for freaking esports, especially after that previous set loss. Probably feeling a lot more comfortable now, and this draft's going to be quite good for them.
I see something very important here, and it is Adrenaline Rush. However, if Vice takes it, the Stinger can be denied. Adren and Stinger are both very high value awakenings. There is no world where Vice will not take Adren, especially with those prize fighter stacks that she has. But Scandals opts for Missile Prop over denying Stinger, and now that means that frickin' Chris has Stinger. That's a very powerful pickup for him. Julia gets a Size Awakening, Recovery Drone no less. This is an insane draft for frickin' esports because of that Missile Prop pickup. Yeah,
and Missile Prop just like does nothing here, really, like in the grand scheme of things. It's really just such a non-awakening in this state of the game, and that's gonna get punished so hard if freaking esports just play the same game they've been playing. Sero sets up on the barrier, perfect follow-up off of that supernova, and Sero will just catch out Scandals is clear right to his face. And freaking esports, I think they're confident. I think they're playing to their game plan, and they have all the tools they need.
Absolutely, they're playing well, they're drafting well. It honestly might have been a series-deciding draft. But I mean, Zanseki is finding some breakaways here, but it really doesn't feel like it's enough, as you really need to get consistent, frequent breakaways to score, even on a map with only one barrier like App. And the more time that freaking esports has to work with, the more they get to. But oh, wait, Zonseki with the cone, dribbling it off the bumper for himself, finding an upwards shot. It's not actually over yet. They are still scoring points. They are still getting momentum. But Trick Me Sports does have the cooldowns to punish them for this point, with the extra special advice especially.
Yeah, it's like a mirror of the previous game, right? The previous game, freaking Esports needed the hero plays while Ishikara Eclipse had the advantage. Now, Ishikara Eclipse looking to be heroes themselves. Zonseki brought low, but a lot of damage onto freaking Chris, who has now been taken out. And a big win condition is that flip from Cragley here, as Zonseki keeps the core contained, sends to the bottom side. A flip wasted by Andy as well. And what a swift 2-1 lead. It feels like the start of the set was like 2 seconds ago.
Yeah, Sarah spending his strike a bit early with allowing it to go right past him, and again, these mistakes are being punished massively, but a very strong Vice secondary completely closing out that kill. That's a prize fighter stack that's an Adrenaline Rush proc. This might be their point to take as long as nothing insane happens. Oh, the flip is spent even after the barrier is taken. So much to work with. Pummeler's speed, Adrenaline Rush. Cragley does respawn, but there's still a lot of momentum here, a lot of damage coming in.
Sero dashing forward, looking for the goal here, but Zonseki has the flip. You gotta watch out as Sero sends it forward. The pass ball not quite enough here, and the big finish going to be devastating. Zonseki low now. Prize fighter stack would be welcome as well. There's the KO. Not quite getting the proc, but still getting the advantage here as freaking Chris just needs to tap it in. Triple take making it slow, but Sero finds the bounce, finds the dash range, and they're 1 point away from moving on.
Yeah, open space versus Estelle. She barely didn't have an ability, apparently, but Sarah with that Pummeler's movement speed is enough to catch up to the core there. Just 30%. It's really showing itself here. And oh, a great read from frickin' Chris, covering that upwards clear. And that's 3 people caught in the Vice ult. And okay, a crazy bounce coming in. Sarah backwards punching into the well, finding that bottom angle shot. What a way to close out a series, if any.
That was definitely a way to close it out, but in those last 2 points, frickin' Esports really displayed what they can do, right? And they move on as a lower seed to the winners finals, guaranteeing themselves top 3 and a date with Koyo. And if they can pilot this damage, if they can focus during the draft and be like, okay, we're a damage team, let's play damage, I think they'll go far.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm going to be contradicting myself from just a bit ago, but frickin' Esports looked so good on that damage that if they lock in damage every single game, I think they're posed to win NAST. I think they have it in them. As long as they're drafting around this damage, they look so good on it, so oppressive on it. I think they have that very strong core and the playstyle that supports them here.
Yeah, and there's Ishikara Eclipse. They are in a bit of trouble now. They will face Wee's Little Furrets in the loser side. A bit of a fateful matchup here. It's rough if you're losing from the winner side as the higher seed, but they'll have to bounce back and find a way to make the comeback.
That's right, and it's very doable. They were looking very strong in that series. They just had a bit of a bad matchup into the damage. Though Zonseki was looking good at surviving. It definitely wasn't enough, as very many clean kill confirms came in from frickin' Esports. I don't think they'll have to play versus a team like that again. I don't think any other team is piloting damage in the same way that frickin' Esports is, so it's very possible that they can get a strong losers run coming in.
Yeah, and we're going to see said frickin' Esports team face off versus Koyo in just a bit. There's still one more series left for the night in the Nasty playoffs. Winners finals is up next, so don't go anywhere, and we'll be right back.